I'm being joined from our Abuja studio by Senator Emmanuel Okejev. He's a senator representing Benue State in the National Assembly. And also with him there is a former spokesperson of the PDP presidential campaign in the 2019 presidential election, Mr. Segun Showmi, both men are in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me perhaps begin with you, Senator. You are at the very top of the leadership of the party. You belong to the Senate caucus, and you understand what is happening. Give us a sense of how crucial the NEC meeting of tomorrow will be. The governors have met today. We understand that some former governors are also meeting with them. What do you hope to see happen at the NEC meeting tomorrow?
Well, thank you, Sean. If I sit here and say I'm proud of what is happening within my party, I'll be lying. Because, like you said in your intro, a lot of Nigerians will be expecting that the PDP takeover of power in 2023 should have been a given, considering the failure of the present government to deliver on their promises, that they gave to Nigerians way back in the run-up to the elections of 2015. They have totally failed. So the expectation would be that PDP, being the next major party, would take advantage of that and in 2023 take over this. But with what is happening, I have my doubts. I have my doubts because if we don't resolve these issues as quickly as possible, where are we going to anchor that expectation of taking over in 2023? So it's because of that the series of meetings that are being held have become a matter of urgency. We have no other way if we expect to survive as a party. That is when I say survive in terms of taking over power, which is the expectation of every member of the party and, of course, the generality of Nigerians out there. Okay, so of course, the APC too has its own problem, but I don't want to anchor my expectation. I don't want to anchor my hopes on the failure of another party. It should be the preparation of our party to take over that should be at the fulcrum of what we are doing as a party. So the leaders of the party have no choice but to come together and ensure that, because when I look at it, I fail to exactly put my finger on what is the problem. Truly, I fail to, even as a member of the party, I fail to put my finger, other than that, anytime we are going towards an election, you start having some of these problems here and there because of permutations for 2023. I'm only hazarding a guess that could be the reason why we're having some of these issues. Otherwise, we are going to have a national convention very soon. So why should the issue of who is the chairman, who is not the chairman, be at the core of the crisis that we have today in the party? So tomorrow's or any other meeting that will come in the days ahead is critically important to the survival of the party as far as the issue of the coming elections is concerned.
I've spoken to you on this program a few times, Senator, and one thing I can deduce from the kind of person you are is that you speak it the way it is. Let me see if you will do that for us one more time tonight. Is there a contest in your party about those who want to take control of the party? What is this all about?
Well, I think you can't run away from that. I can't exactly say this is the person that wants to take over the control of the party, but the permutations that are going on is very clear to even a passive observer that the issues are stakers. And as always, even in the other parties, that is always the issue. But in this party too, it seems to me like you can't run away from the fact that as we run towards 2023, some people would like to have an edge over others, and therefore the squabbling, the hyped crisis that we have now, it should be, I can't see. But what I always like to remind people is that if we fracture ourselves up because of 2023, of what use is that? Because we won't be going there as one unit. And therefore, considering that we're an opposition party, that is a new wind that will blow nobody within the party any good. So we have no choice but just to come together and forget about individual expectations, because as an individual, you can't make it. We just have to bond together as a group. There are a lot of factors in our favor as we go towards 2023. But we have to harness those, the factors that will lead us to that environment.
Let me go to Mr. Segun Shewumi. I mean, if you want to take a critical analysis of what has happened to the PDP's fortune from 2015, a terrible bloody nose in 2015, when a sitting or a ruling party was removed from government in 2015. And you were one of those who were conversing for votes for your party. You spoke eloquently for your party, telling Nigerians what your party represents in 2019, hoping that you want to return to power. That was another disappointment for your party. You lost the election at the center in 2019. Salt onto injury, it may look, you've lost about 2 or so governors in the last few weeks, few months. Again, for the 3rd time in 1 month, your governors have converged in Abuja to meet about the situation of the party. Is it a beginning of another troubled water for what we have seen? A similar thing we've seen in the past, Mr. Shewumi.
Well, Seun, first of all, thank you very much. For you to call an election a loss, you must go to the integrity of the election process itself. As far as we are concerned, in 2019, we have accepted the result, but we truly think our party won that election. And we're hoping that in the build-up to 2023, the election process will be cleaned up to such a point that it will leave nobody guessing as to the quality and integrity of the process. Once the election integrity is very high, then it becomes easier for people to, get the result that they deserve. That's said on that. In terms of the shenanigans and internal troubles and squabbles going on in the PDP, I always tell people, let us learn to compare like with likes. We should compare oranges and oranges and apples and apples. Between 2018 to about now, we've had a very stable period under the Secondus-led NWC. Compare that to our rivals. They can't say they've done the same thing. Then there is an issue on the table which borders on a court order that says he shouldn't parade himself for now as chairman. Most parties, especially our rivals, would have collapsed even on the weight of just that alone. But what have you seen with the PDP? You have seen that the internal mechanism of the party has a clear line of succession even when these issues come up. For instance, it is not by magic that the laws and the constitution of our party created an opportunity for the Deputy National Chairman, South, Elde Akinwumi, who happens to come from my Ogun State, to now stand in gap. That means that beyond the conversations around how do we, calm free nerves, how do we keep the party going forward, the party is moving. Again, you have also seen that the democratic organs of the party, the Governors Forum, the Senators Forum, where my brother is a member, the Rep Caucus, the BOT, all of the democratic instruments that allows the political party to anchor was immediately stimulated and activated, and they have been busy. Hey, Sheun, that is what is expected of a democratic institution. It is foolhardy to expect that, because you are in democracy, issues will not come up. What is more to be desired is how do those parties, what kind of mechanism do they have to manage those crises? Now, flip it to the APC. You can barely explain how they ended up losing the Adams Oshomole NWC, and it collapsed everything under him until they've been with the caretaker committee, which will be struggling continuously to justify its legitimacy based on some of the things we're hearing from them. Their organs could not even manage the fallout of that. And then you look at the PDP and you say, well, you would prefer that they didn't have these issues. But be that as it may, you have to commend them that the democratic development and the robustness within that party reflects that it is a party that is alive, it's a party that has a soul, and it's a party that is moving towards, managing its issue. In any case, the neck of the party has put a date for the next convention. naturally that throws up the need for some of these meetings. Part of these meetings will be, how do you constitute a convention planning committee? People must be populated into those committees. Then will be the actual organizing of convention. Then it will be the issues that are pending in the meantime. Among them, but definitely not the exclusive issue, will be the Anambra election, where you can see they've set up their committees, they are about to inaugurate them, and everybody is going to fly into Anambra trying to champion the cause of the party. There are also those states that have to deal with their own conventions that they need to, make up before we get to the national convention. These are all very serious issues. And if you are not going to run a draconian organization, or you are not going to run the piece of the graveyard where everybody just assumes that all is right and where there are no institutions to carry them over, then I guess you want to say that for the level of our democracy in Nigeria, it is not perhaps chance that the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria is a party that was inaugurated with all others sometimes around 1998, and is the only party that is still standing with its name intact, with its fortunes. It's won elections here, it's formed government here, it's done a lot of wonderful things in this country. It's lost the election as should be expected in a democracy. It's preparing for the next election. And I believe that when the Nigerians take a referendum on what their life has been like, how they have been treated, how the people that have been in Benue have been basically macheted, how insecurity has gone all over the land, the level of poverty in the country, I expect Nigerians to know precisely that PDP is a democratic institution and they can hedge their bet on it because they know how to make life more abundant for all Nigerians.
I can bet that you speak eloquently for your party, but I don't know how eloquent you can present your position tonight or defend your party tonight in the face of what you're facing. And the question I'm going to ask you, Mr. Oshomi, is the fact that time is no longer on your side in the party. The NEC has said conduct a national convention by the 10th of October. Today is the 8th of October. So you just have about a month to do that. About 10 states now of the PDP are struggling, have problems with their structure. That means the party needs to go to those states and conduct the structures, congresses from the very beginning to the very top in those states. That means you are running, time is not on your side. How can you convince Nigerians that your party that you say that is democratic is having itself in a disorganizational mode as it is right now? And how can Nigerians trust Nigeria into the hands of your party?
Okay, I'll tell you what. You see, you have to understand that this is a country where when we run even general elections, we run it on the same day. Therefore, there's no big deal in running states congresses in about 4, 5, or 7 states. Once the dates are fixed, the logistics and the wherewithal is known, the capability to go in there and do the count and observe what has happened and harvest the result is known. No, I believe that that can happen once the dates for it are fixed. The other thing I need to also say is that we are not a political party that does not react to what the law says. We're not like our rivals who, in spite of pronouncements of courts and all that, they go ahead and pretend as if those orders will not be respected. We have demonstrated over the years that once the court speaks, we respect the court. And that sometimes throw up some of these shenanigans. But what will a political party do? The political party will set up its organs, the BOT, the NEC, the Governors Forum, the Senate caucus, the House Rep caucus, all of the stakeholders of the party to begin to manage the complexities that we're in. And I tell you again, Shehu, don't forget, whereas we're talking about a PDP that has a working NWC, only with the last chairman being suspended, you're not going to compare it with an APC that doesn't even know what it's running on. Is it running on a caretaker app perpetually? Is it able to call his own NEC meetings? And I beg of you. When I ask you to compare like with like, I'm not building castles in the sky. And I'm not saying things that Nigerians cannot validate. I'm saying that democracy can sometimes be turbulent because of contestation of interest. But that what is important is how democratic institutions manage themselves. And I dare say that you have to call the PDP and say, well, it's a work in progress democracy, but certainly they're doing a few things right, and they will likely exit this quickly. And in the unlikely situation that they have to push the date forward, I am sure that those who sat at NEC to put that date also have the understanding of what the expectations are. The 21 days notice that has to be given to INEC so that they are aware that we're going to do the convention, the logistic requirement of putting all of that. They will hem it in, and they will give us a convention that will get us ready. They will talk about the issues of zoning. We'll determine where we want to put the national chairmanship and all of the issues. People will contest for them. And again, just like you saw with our 2019 presidential primary, where it was a signature of all lights, it was choreographed almost like a command performance of an orchestra. You're going to find the PDP again able to come to the public space and show a convention that makes sense. All that will be required is a bit of give and take here and there. And I'm sure that, like you know, like I always say, the PDP has a soul. All the requirement to make everybody have their free enough camp will be done. But certainly the party will be better off for it by the time we're done with this.
Senator, let me come back to you. It is, I mean, even to a child who understands that 2023 is at the heart of what is happening in your party. And the contestation also is whether or not those forces who think it should be zoned to the north or it should be zoned to the south. In all honesty, with what we've seen in our recent political history, where do you suppose that your party, the PDP, I mean, which is the originator of the rotational presidency, should zone the 2023 presidency?
Well, thanks for that question. I wouldn't want to sit here and start running ahead of myself over what the party position would be. What I can say personally is that any setup that I belong to, I like for fairness to take place, for justice to take place. And that's the best that I can say. Let the leaders of the party sit and do what is right, do what is just. Like you pointed out, our party has been at the forefront of insisting that the right thing is done in terms of zoning of positions here and there, and we shouldn't abandon it now. So even as they sit, they know the right thing to do, you know. And it pains me when I see a lot of should I say movement over nothing. You know, there's a lot of movement in the party over non-issues at all, because we normally like to compare ourselves with America, where we got this style of democracy, and they do just like politicians anywhere. They also have their issues, but if you look at it, in most instances, their issues are over ideology and, what do you stand for? How should government be run and all of that. But here we argue a lot over issues that Nigerians cannot identify with, okay? So let us, I'm pained that we may be presenting the Nigerian public with, it's like we are trapping them between the rock and the hard place, which is not right, which there should be a clear place to lean to, because outside of the PDP, I don't see any party that can come up and challenge this and consider the numbers that will be required to win the presidency. So we have a beautiful opportunity to do that. And instead, we sit here discussing, we sit all over the place and we are discussing issues that should have been avoided. I know that when you have any organization for that matter, most of all a political party, they are bound to be arguments and all of that. But some of these arguments are needless. So the party leadership knows they have been at the forefront of doing the right thing, of zoning. So let's continue with that. We shouldn't abandon that all of a sudden. That's my position.
And you're from the North Central, and recently some leaders of thought in the North Central have said, look, it is right, we've not had any elected president from the North Central, perhaps not that I can remember, but they are already saying that the North Central should be given a chance. Some people will believe that the Igbos in the Southeast should be given a chance. Those are the issues. And people will also debate that some of the differences that we have in this country, if for some people who think that they have been unjustly treated within the polity, that they have been marginalized, these are some of the conversation in the polity. And so that's the reason why I'm asking you, these conversations have come to the National Assembly when you're talked about the issue of the spread of opportunities in public sector. So, I mean, for us to have a headway, where would you advise, if you had the opportunity to advise your party, if you're acting as a conscience of the PDP tonight, Senator Jeff, where would you say the party should look to resolve all of these differences and this problem, these controversies that we have?
Shaun, I don't want to sit here and begin to point at a particular geopolitical zone or whatever. But
Even
I've
your
made
zone,
my position very clear.
Even your zone, the North Central.
Shaun, let me say it. I'm going to land. You see, the late reggae singer once said that everybody's asking for peace, nobody's asking for justice. So you have to have justice before you have peace. So all those zones that have been crying, that we have been left out, these are the sort of things that will lead to restiveness, okay? So by zone is one of those places that have been denied leadership of this country as far as democratic democracy. Since democracy started way back, and this particular republic started, and you know, so they have a good case. But I don't want to sit because I come from North Central, say it must be North Central. Let's sit and see among those that have been denied, who's most deserving, you know. That's why I'm shy of sitting here and insisting that it must go to a particular place. But of course, you got it right. The North Central is one of those places that have a good case to put across to the party. And so, if we look at that, you will see that a lot of these issues that we have now will start to go down.
All right. We're due for a break, but I need to hear from Mr. Shagushomi before we wrap up this segment of the program. But we need to take a break now. And when we return, also don't forget, there is being a row between the state and the federal government. So I have two experts to join me. Mr. Oyedele, a taxation expert, and Mr. Kayode Ajulo, a lawyer, on the VAT row between the federal government and some of the state's government. Discuss that and get a final thought of my guests in Abuja afterwards. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to our Abuja studio and get some the closing moments now on the issue of the PDP leadership affair. Mr. Showmi, let's get your final thoughts on this one. Where does your party go from here? It's a dilemma, isn't it, for your party, 2023. I know that you're a very good friend to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Would you subscribe that presidency should be zoned in that direction again?
Well, Seun, let me start by saying that the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria is the university and the incubator for political conversation and dialogue in this country. Even the so-called concept of zoning and rotation was created by us. And we do not insist that the process is stagnant or the conversation is ended. Where we are in the country today, in Nigeria, we are at such a precipice that over and above all other consideration, we must respect the fact that we have 6 geopolitical zones in the country. Of the 6 geopolitical zones in the country, 3 of those zones have not had a shot at the presidency at this time. In the order that they are important, the Northeast, who has not produced a president since Tafawa Balewa, the Southeast, that obviously has not produced a president and the agitation is live, and the North Central, who have not produced a president in this democratic environment. We will look at that. We will also be looking at who is the man that can hit the ground running and begin to correct the really bad issues that we're contending with in the country, issues of poverty, issue of restiveness, issue of national division, and all of that, almost bringing to a point of bankruptcy. Therefore, in all of this, you can trust the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria that when they fall into the caucus where they have to do that zoning, we're going to be zoning, understanding and having at the back of our mind that we're looking for the best Nigerian within reasonable equity that can provide leadership, carry the country forward, probably stabilize the country, and then the country can begin to now look for competence over and above every other thing. So I believe that if you think about it very well, you may probably think that we will do what is just, we will do what is right, and no zone will be shortchanged. I am very confident that when the caucus meets and they take that decision, I'm very confident that from whatever zone we go to, I'm very confident that the kinds of material that will be coming forward to challenge and say this is the new way for Nigeria will be the kind of people that Nigerians can love and the kinds of people Nigerians can respect. And what will now be required is for the Nigerians themselves not to play the ostrich. There's no point arguing that all our lives collectively has been mismanaged by the Buhari-led APC government. What will now be required for them now is to brace up, go get their PVC, go register, and let's all come together and rescue Nigeria from the very difficult state we found ourselves, which we've never found ourselves in the history of our country. So I can guarantee you that from the same stable of the PDP, where most of this narrative for progress comes, the next narrative around where we should zone, how we should zone it, what section we should look at, where the numbers are, who is best able to provide leadership. I'm sure all of that will be taken into consideration, and by the grace of God Almighty, Nigeria will be rescued.
Segun Showumi, a former spokesperson for the People's Democratic Party in the 2019 presidential election, and Senator Okejev, a sitting senator in the National Assembly representing Benue North. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. I appreciate it. And I wish your party the very best as you look ahead for the NEC meeting tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming tonight.